Hey everybody, Bearded Rogue here. Long time no see. I know I was trying to keep up with these weekly, and I haven't managed to do that, but I figured I'd give you guys an update and, pledge again that I'm going to try to be a little bit better and more frequent with these updates. So, what's going on with me? I haven't played a lot of published games recently. I've been playing mostly my own designs, which is a very odd sensation for me. I've received several published designs. A lot of Kickstarters have come in. I haven't made a lot of purchases post Gen Con yet, although I have a list, or post Essen even. I've made a list of games that I want to pick up. The Grizzled is probably number one on that list. Pandemic Legacy is probably number two, and then there are a whole bunch of others that probably are interchangeable at number three. I am also kind of going through uh, I guess, cleaning and sorting of pretty much everything in my house, and board games are on that list, so expect to see some board games that I'm looking to find a new home for sometime in the next week, maybe 2 weeks, depending on when I get a chance to go through everything behind me and figure out what I want to keep and what I can cull. But but yeah, that's that kind of stuff. So most of what I've been playing lately have been my designs. Build the Robots still continues. We've gotten another 10 or so playtests in, and decided to make a couple of modifications. One is a very slight modification on one of the cards to make plastic robots a little bit more competitive. Again, if you haven't checked out Build the Robots, it is a deck building game that I have designed that has a little bit of a twist to it. I really like it. My game group really likes it, and so far, other people who've played it really like the primary mechanic, the assembly line mechanic, which is kind of the featured aspect of it, as it were, the featured design aspect of it, anyway. It's a lot of fun, and it's getting closer and closer to being finished, or at least being as finished as I want to make it before I take it to the next step and go ahead and go full like beta test mode with it. It's definitely good enough for other people to play it. The print and play is up. I'll post a link to it. I'm gonna be revising it slightly with the change to make plastic a little more competitive, and with another slight change to add a mystic heavy infantry style card to it. If you're familiar with Ascension, basically something that's always available to kickstart your economy if your cards happen to come out in a weird order. I've only had a couple of games, and I do mean like a couple total, over the 50 or so playtests that we've had, where it comes up, but I'd rather have something in place to get rid of that negative play experience than leave it and just let people have a bad experience. It was a really easy fix. I just add a pile of cards to the side that you can discard any card from your hand to take, and then they are a weaker version of your primary econ card. So it gets you going, but it doesn't clog up your deck. It discards itself back to its own pile on the side, so it doesn't clog up your deck or slow you down. It's just used as a little bit of a band-aid for when you need to get your econ started and your cards come up in a weird order. It also has some other utility uses, allowing you to put cards in your discard pile without having to send them through your assembly line, which is a little bit of strategic value here and there, but I won't go into the mechanics on anything very heavily in this video. This is just more of a summary. So Build the Robots continues. I'm very happy with its progress. It's getting very close to being something that I'll be pitching around to publishers. I'm not sure exactly when that's going to happen, as I'm not going to be at BGG-Con, but it's definitely something that I intend on doing. The other thing that I did is I'm working on a brand new game as well. Right now it doesn't have a name, I'm just calling it the beat 'em up game. It was originally inspired by side-scrolling beat 'em ups of my youth. I played a lot of Streets of Rage and Double Dragon and the old Ninja Turtles arcade-style games, and really love that style of game as a cooperative, beat-the-level button masher type experience. Brawlers is another word for them, but I decided I wanted to create something like that, so I'm working on that now, and uh, it's a real-time game. I don't like real-time games. Like, Space Alert drives me crazy. Escape, The Curse of the Temple is a game that I do not understand why other people like it at all. It makes no sense to me. But this game introduced and almost made real time mandatory, actually, in a very odd way. So one of the big things is the main mechanic, and again I won't get too deep into it, is that each enemy card has two moves that are required to beat it up. So this one's a jump and a move, and this one's a move and a block, and this guy is upside down. He needs double blocks. This guy needs a move and a bite, and this guy needs a move and a bite as well. But there are all of these different mooks running around, and they have they basically have two things that are required to beat them. There's a harder deck that's the minions, which has three required to beat them. And then the hero deck is all made up of cards that are two things. I'm going to eventually iconize this and make it prettier, but I wanted something quick and easy. So this one's a bite and a move. So I can play this as either a bite or a move, or if the enemy has both bite and move on it, I can use this as both. But the way it works is that I hold my whole deck of cards in my hand face up so I can see what's on top. And then I have a deck of enemies, and we start the timer. Right now it's a minute, and we flip over cards from the enemy deck, and then we play cards from this deck to defeat the enemies. You can hold two cards on the table in front of you, so you can have the two cards in front of you and then whatever's on top of your deck. But as soon as you draw the card, you have to either use it to defeat an enemy or damage an enemy, or put it on the table in front of you. So you're trying to do this as quickly as you can because each wave is a minute. So you're trying to defeat as many enemies as you can in a minute to get your way through the enemy deck. At the end of the wave, everybody takes a damage equal to the number that the wave is. So you also take a damage for any enemy that isn't defeated. And there's a collective pool of hit points, so nobody's eliminated, everybody's in it until the end. But there's a collective pool of hit points based on the number of players. There's the size of the enemy deck is dependent on the number of players. And so you'll do this 1 minute turn of flipping enemy cards and then playing your cards to defeat them. And everybody's doing this simultaneously, and then at the end of the minute everything stops, and you look at any enemies that aren't defeated deal damage, the wave deals damage, and then you clear anything that's defeated off and start the next wave. So because you take damage at the end of every wave, you're incentivized to try to do as much as you can, which kind of forces you to push your luck to bring out more enemies than maybe you can handle. So it works really well. I don't have the exact numbers figured out yet. Like a minute was just the most satisfying that we found as far as time frame goes. It may end up being 2 minutes or 45 seconds or whatever it ends up being, but a minute was a nice round number and it felt really satisfying. It was much better than 30 seconds, which felt like you didn't have any time to even think, or go through the manual process of flipping over enemy cards and then playing your own cards. So a minute felt really good, with 2 players anyway, and we busted that out and played around with it. I don't know how many hit points each player will have. I don't know how big the enemy deck will be yet, but it's totally in its initial stages as a brand new idea. I want to theme it right now with anthropomorphic critters. I don't know whether they're going to be dinosaurs or mammalian characters like wolves and bears, or what they're going to be yet. If you have any ideas, let me know. But right now the 5 moves in the game are bite, claw, move, jump, and block. And all the enemies take some combination of those 5 to defeat. Depending on how many total they take to defeat will determine how bad they are. Each deck composition, you'll be able to change the difficulty by changing which enemies you use. Anyway, regardless, beat 'em up game. We tested it for the first time this week, and it went really well. It was awesome. It's really fun when an idea that you have in your head comes together pretty quickly, and that is a fine example of it. So it felt a lot like Build the Robots in that way, where I was just sitting around and I had thought about, like, 3 months ago, what could I do that would be like a beat 'em up game, because there aren't a lot of them. Like Pixel Lincoln has the whole side scroller thing to it, but it's not really a beat 'em up game. It's more of like a platformer or something like that. So I really wanted to get some kind of beat 'em up feel, and it's real time. Because my initial testing, it turned out to be just like a puzzle. Like, it was really easy if you had as much time as you wanted, or so there had to be some kind of limit. Either limit your resources, like you only get X number of cards to beat this many enemies, and if you have to draw cards, you take damage for that, or we needed a real-time element to force the decision space to be a little bit more constricted. And real-time feels better to me. Maybe the solo version of the game will do more resource-type constriction rather than time constriction, just because there's a lot to manipulate as one person, but I think 2-player and up, and I want to have it play at least 4 players, like the old Ninja Turtles arcade games, will be that way, will be real-time. And the time may change based on number of players, but like any design that's this early, who knows? And then the last design that I'm working on right now really heavily is Dice Heroes. And Dice Heroes, I am so excited about where we're getting on it. My design partner John and I have decided to, like, shrink down the amount of things that we're working on, because the full idea for Dice Heroes basically is infinite. Like, you could add an infinite number of heroes, you could create an infinite number of dungeons, as long as all of them have their own unique feel or unique flavor or unique mechanics. Then the sky's the limit. It's got the potential for infinite expandability. But infinite expandability is impossible to design. So what we've done is kind of cut down the number of things we're working on. So we settled on 4 heroes, the big 4, the mage, the warrior, the cleric, and the rogue, the most traditional fantasy hero archetypes, D&D style big 4. And we've just been working on them. And we cut ourselves down to 3 of the dungeons. Right now, John likes to refer to them as the 3 C's, which is the cultists, the constructs, and the kobolds. Kobolds doesn't start with C, but he likes saying that anyway. So those 3 decks are what we have right now that we're testing against. And we're kind of playing them back and forth and trying to avoid power seesawing and everything, but mostly right now we're playing to try to get the heroes to a point where they feel good to play, where they feel dynamic, it feels like you're doing stuff, it feels like there's real decisions in the game, it feels like there's a lot of ways to set up other people or even yourself inside of the game. So we're mostly working on the heroes right now, but then we're also going to be we've also been working on these 3 specific dungeons, as they're good examples of the different kinds of dungeons that we have in the game. So it's going really well. We played multiple games of it Wednesday night. I guess that was last night technically, but whenever you watch this, it's largely irrelevant. Just the night before I'm recording this, we played several games of it, and it went extremely well. We're getting really close to finalizing the abilities for the big 4 and the mechanics for them. There's a little bit of wonkiness in that the mage might end up becoming a warlock, and we may end up creating a different mage, but we'll see how it all ends up panning out in the long run. Either way, the mechanics portion of things is really like starting to be nailed down as to how we want the game flow to work, what kind of keywords and abilities and templating and things like that we want in the game, so that we know what kind of levers and knobs we can play with inside of the framework of things. But I'm really excited about that. It's going really well, and I'm hoping to get that first setup, those 3 dungeons and the 4 heroes set up as a print and play soon, so that I can have people who aren't me and my playtest group give it a try and see what they think, so that I can also start working on the rules a little bit more. I found that putting out a print and play has become a really good way to force me to work on my rules and hammer that kind of stuff out and catch little corner cases of, oh, well, I know that this is how it works, but I don't say anywhere that this is how it works. So that kind of stuff has been something I've been working with recently, because I kind of want to start getting this one out there in front of other people. I really like it. It's like a Euro dungeon crawl. It's totally abstracted, no map, no DM. The dungeon deck runs itself according to an AI. All the enemies have their own little things that they do, and all of the players work collectively and cooperatively to overcome it, and it's a lot of fun. Like even the play sessions where it doesn't work right now are fun. But we haven't had one of those in I don't know how long, in a while. Anyway, so I've rambled for quite a bit of time. I know that these videos can be shorter if I record more often, so I'm going to see if I can do that. But podcasting and life and work and, all of the other stuff that goes on for all of us has happened, and so it's been a little bit delayed. Anyway, if you watched all the way to the end of this, thank you very much, and Bearded Rogue signing out.